This is the Show Up Show, helping coaches, service providers, leaders, and entrepreneurs to master showing up to build their brand, authority, and grow their business. Whether it's showing up on social media, in front of an audience, on a live interview, or an actual stage, this podcast is going to help you overcome visibility fear to confidently brand yourself as the authority in your industry. I'm Joanne Chan, aka the Confidence and Visibility Queen, and I am on a mission to share how I went from a nobody to the confident leader I am today, what I have learned, and what I have done to build my brand and business from scratch, and help you do the same so that you can make an impact in the world with the meaningful work that you do. Whether you are new to the business world or feeling unsure about public visibility, or you want to be seen and heard in a way that doesn't feel icky but authentic to you, you will discover how to become visible in your own unique way and show up as the confident entrepreneur you have always dreamed about becoming. Now, it's time to get you show up and be confidently visible so you can easily attract more clients and opportunities for yourself. With no prior experience, financial resources, or any mentors, our guest today embarked on this entrepreneurial journey while having a full-time job and graduate studies during nights and the weekends. Over the past 17 years, he has been setting his own rules and achieving his own success. He was a top 1% vendor and top 1% affiliate on 2 platforms, and his digital products have been awarded bestsellers over 50 times and has generated $100,000 in sales in a single day, and has been featured in New York Times best-selling author's book. He has gained invaluable insights into both business and life and lessons he wishes he had received earlier to avoid the stress, frustration, and isolation of solo entrepreneurship. Now, he's committed to sharing his wisdom and support with fellow entrepreneurs and business builders. So, guys, help me welcoming the CEO of Leverage LLC and Optimize podcast host, Brett Ingram. Hi, Brett. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So I love our pre-chat. I want to know what is your story behind becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own business.
Sure. Actually, it's a very funny story because I actually have an exact moment where I learned or realized I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was at graduate school at night. I had already worked a full-time job during the day. And during the break in my classes in the evening, I called home and talked to my wife. And I had a 15-minute break. It's like 7:30 at night. And she said she was tucking in our older son, putting him to bed and reading him a story. And I had sort of a hollow feeling in my chest because I realized I was missing that. And the career that I was planning to go into, which was consulting, I realized I was going to be living out of hotels and flying around on planes, and I would miss those nights all the time. And so even though I was a few months away from graduation from graduate school in my MBA, I actually in that moment decided I had to do something different where I could be home and I could be there for my family. Um, and so that was the exact moment where I decided I don't know what I'm going to do, but I've got to find a way to start a business or do something where I have control over my own time and my own life so I could be there to raise my family.
Wow. And then how long did it take for you to, from that moment to eventually start your own business?
Well, it was really hard because I was working a lot of hours already. I was going to graduate school a couple nights a week and on the weekends, and I already had a family started. So I didn't have a lot of free time. I was working an hour at night. I was going into the office an hour early in the morning and working at my, on my business at the job an hour before work started. And so it was an hour here, hour there, wherever I could get the time. It took me 3 months to get my first list subscriber. And it took me another 3 months, 6 months from my first day in order to make my first $17 sale. But I knew that I had to make it go. I had to make it work. I was committed to it. And so, that was the most important thing because the driving force behind why I needed to do it was so powerful that no matter how long it took me, I was going to figure it out.
Wow, I love that. So what was your first business venture, or what was the first thing that you tried to sell online?
Well, I didn't have a lot of skills or experience, so I didn't have any budget and I didn't really know anybody online or how to do anything. So I started learning all this stuff. And what I realized is, if I have to learn this to get going with an online business, there are going to be a lot of other people that do too. So all I did was sort of put together all the info that I had learned, and I made sort of an ebook. And I said, you know what, I think I'll just try to sell this ebook. So I made like a simple version of it as a free giveaway. And that's how I got my first list subscriber. And then I made the full version of it, and that was a $17 ebook. So I basically made my first sale, and it took me all those months. But the important thing about that was the minute that I made that first sale, what I knew is the system worked. I knew that I could create something out of just my head, put it on a digital platform, and turn that into dollars. And $17 might buy you a pizza. It's not going to change your life. But the idea that this works, I knew then all I needed to do was figure out how I could grow this, how I could scale this in order to make it something that could be a full-time income.
Right, and you're talking about, because in your bio you talk about that was almost 17 years ago, right? You have been doing this for almost 17 years. So what was it like back then? Like the online space, marketing space. I didn't even know people had ebooks back then. So talk to me about that.
Well, the social media platforms didn't really exist.
Yeah.
So there was no social media really. And, even online video, you could play a little tiny video that was really low resolution and it would stutter and skip because the connection speed wasn't even good. So part of it that was easier is that there was a lot more ground still that needed to be covered. There weren't as many tools and everything else, but that was also the thing that made it difficult because you couldn't just plug in somewhere, buy a $30 a month online tool and start doing whatever you need to do overnight. So you sort of had to learn it all. There weren't communities, there weren't a lot of information. And actually, the way that I discovered digital marketing was I was online one night and I was scrolling and I saw this ad for an ebook about how to run a digital business. And because I had already had the realization from that phone call that I needed to find another way to do something and way to do my own business, it caught my attention. I otherwise might have just scrolled right past it. But because I noticed that, I said, okay, I've got to buy this and I got to figure out how to do this. And it didn't have a lot of information, but it sort of opened the rabbit hole for me. And then I went from there to the next thing to the next thing, and I started to figure it out. But one of the most important things that I learned also, and I think it's really important for anybody that's trying to start a business to understand this, is the first 3 months I spent learning. I didn't do anything. And I felt busy and I was really busy in my life, but nothing changed until I started to do something and take action because I was getting smarter. I was learning a lot about digital business, but I was getting broker. So I was like the smartest broke guy in the room because nothing was happening. I wasn't doing anything.
I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with that because so today we are overwhelmed, we are bombarded by so many information right now, like ads or even just like everything, every social media platform that we go, it's all about information, right? People are trying to sell you that thing and it's overwhelming. And there are so many courses out there, right? Or marketing gurus, selling you into their courses. And I'm not saying it, I'm not against that. I'm just sharing. So and people are stuck in the learning loop. They think they have to learn, keep learning one more strategy, and which is why they are not making any money. They are not making any sales, right? They are still stuck in the learning loop. So how would you help those people who are, still learning? Maybe they are afraid, and usually I would say deep down is because they are held back by a fear, right? Could be a fear of failure, right? Because if they don't take action, they will not fail. And if they don't fail, then they will not be afraid. So looking back to on journey, and what would you say that so you spend the first three months learning, and then how did you actually decide your own path, like your own entrepreneurship path?
Well, I 100% agree with what you said. I think that learning, and one of the things I've said is learning is a really comfortable place to hide from doing, and what happens is I like to learn, and most entrepreneurs like to learn. So it's comfortable and it feels good. But at the end of the day, it's also safe. And that's something that we can hide in for a while. But what you end up realizing is if you don't ultimately do something, then you never get anywhere. And the funniest part about it is the more you learn and the more you think first of all, there isn't going to be a finish line. There's not going to be a day where all of a sudden you say, okay, now I know enough. I can do this. You're never going to know enough because there's always more to know. But the other thing is, I've laid out a perfect plan for this, that, and the other thing, and you start to do it. And the minute that you start to do it, you realize, oh, well, that didn't work the way I thought. That was different than I thought. I think it was Mike Tyson who said, everybody has a plan when they come into the ring until they get hit, right? You're in a boxing match and you get hit, all of a sudden it changes and you're now learning on the fly. And I find business is exactly the same thing. And so for me, what happened was when I started doing things, my stuff was embarrassing. It was terrible, but I was doing it. So I was learning what worked and what didn't work. So by paying attention to the action that you're taking and seeing if those results are getting you closer or further away from where you want to be, you then can adjust your approach and get closer and closer. And so what I did was I started off with, an ebook and an info product. And what I realized is the same challenges that I had, other people were going to have. And that was there's so much to do and so little time that ultimately, if there were ways to automate these things, if there were ways to simplify these things, that is really the key. And so I started to look at the stuff that I wanted to be able to do faster and easier. And I started to have software developed to do that. And I said, well, if it's going to help me, it's going to help other people too, because they've got to do the same things.
I remember my story as well, I remember when I first started my coaching business, started my own online business or digital business, I was thinking that, once I build a funnel and I just run ads and drive traffic to my funnel and I will become a millionaire overnight. I still remember that moment. And it didn't happen. I was like, okay, now what? What do I do now? Right. So because it's the only thing that I know or I then learned. And I'm sure for you, right, for the past 17 years, I'm sure when things didn't go right, you felt, you were frustrated for sure. You felt isolated. You had no one to talk to, right? So, and maybe your family didn't even know what you're trying to do. So how did you overcome the isolation of being an entrepreneur, and how do you navigate through this frustration and failures and keep going?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one of the great things now is there are a lot of resources out there. There are groups, there are all these other things where, we can at least feel connected to other people and know that other people are going through it. At the time, for me, I think one of the most important things in any entrepreneurial journey is having a strong enough why and reason for what you're doing. So when those problems come up, and I use the word when because I don't care who you are or how perfect your plans are, something is going to happen where you're going to be challenged. You're going to run into an obstacle where you're going to say, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this is the right thing. Is this the universe trying to tell me that I should be, just go get a job and do that? And you've got to be able to have the fortitude to be able to step back and look at it from a larger perspective, refocus on what you're doing, and be able to keep doing it. One of the other interesting things that happened to me is one of the nights that I was going into school, I used to take the train in because I went to school in New York City and I live in Connecticut. And so I worked in Connecticut and I would jump on the train and I would go into the city. Well, I was running late for school one night. And so I decided to drive in instead. And I almost never did this. So I drove in, I parked on a really well-lit street outside NYU, and I went into class, and it's like 7:30 at night, or 6 when I go in. So it was dark by the time I came out. And as I'm coming down the street, I just got this eerie sense that something was wrong when I had come out of class. And as I come around the corner and I see my car, my back window was smashed, and my attaché case that was in the back seat was gone.
Oh.
Well, I didn't have anything valuable in there except a zip drive, which there was no cloud storage, had all 3 months of the research that I had done, all 3 months of my plans, my marketing ideas, my product ideas, everything, my entire business. 3 months worth of work of an hour a night, an hour in the morning. That's all I could squeeze in. All of it was gone because somebody stole the case. There was nothing in it but that.
Yeah.
I scurried around. I was looking for it. I thought maybe they ditched it when they realized there wasn't anything of value in there. It was just gone. And so as I drove home that night, I started to question the whole thing. Is this just a mistake? Is this the universe telling me I should just get a job and play the safe and narrow route? But once I stepped back and reflected and I stopped feeling sorry for myself and feeling bad about what had happened, I realized that this was an opportunity, right? I could stop learning, I could start doing, and I could just pick up from there and grow. And it will be a great story that I could tell down the road about how I overcame this obstacle. And it's really the way you frame stuff in your own mind that helps you figure out how to get past the obstacles that you're going to face. And I think that is really, really important. And just to understand that those obstacles are there, they're not unique to you in terms of everybody is going to go through it. And it's part of what makes the journey and the success so rewarding is the fact that it isn't always easy.
Yeah, I love that story. I mean, thanks for telling that story. So because I do believe that everything happens for a reason, right? If you were to now, of course, looking back, it's easier for you to say, you know, it happened for a reason. But in fact, if you didn't lose that drive, then you would not, maybe, you know, you still stuck in the learning loop and you would not take any action because everything is already learned, right? It's in your mind. Now it's time to implement. I believe that's what the universe is telling you. Now it's time to go do it, right? So yeah, I love that story. And you know, if I were to build a funnel and drive traffic and run ads and become a millionaire, I don't think I will be here talking to you today because I would be maybe traveling around the world and having the best of my life. So yeah, I believe it's always a journey and there's always so much to learn as entrepreneurs. So now let's talk about some strategies because I know my listeners, they are listening to this show, they want to learn some tips, you know, from the experts. So, and obviously you have achieved massive success for your own digital business, you know. So what is your secret sauce, I would say, or strategies behind selling over 50 best-selling products and also a sales milestone of hitting a 100,000 in a day? Like, what is really your secret and strategies?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of ways to do it. I think the most important thing is to understand what it is that you want to do, have a focus about that. And then whatever you decide to go into, or however you decide to promote it, or whatever, that you focus on something. A problem and a challenge that I see is sort of the fact that when people try something and it doesn't work right away, the instinct is to jump to something else. Okay, well, I was gonna go into the health and fitness market, and I created this ebook about how to get fit, and it didn't sell right away. So you know what? Now I'm going to go into the dog grooming business, and I'm going to try this over here. And I ran an ad, and that didn't work. So now I'm going to go try some kind of email marketing, and then I'll do SEO. When you do that, what happens is you become good at nothing, and you fail at a lot of things.
Mm.
If you focus on one element of it, or one promotion strategy, or one niche or product, and you're passionate about it, the thing that you need to understand from the product standpoint, or the business, or the focus, is that it has to be something that you love and are passionate about. We don't chase the money because there's always going to be someone who's better at that particular niche than we are if all we're after is money. Somebody gets up in the morning excited to go to work and do what they're going to do because it's the niche it is. If that isn't you, that's your competition. And so if you don't love gardening and you think, well, that's an easy place to make money, so I'm going to make some gardening stuff, you're going to get tired of it really fast. And the person that loves it is going to be up in the morning doing gardening videos and everything else, and they're going to kill you because they're doing it out of passion. So start with the thing that you're passionate about and that you love, and then figure out how to monetize it. And so if you create some products or you create some content, and then you want to get some eyeballs to it, or you want to be able to do some promotion, pick a strategy and focus on it. For me, it was affiliate marketing. I don't know much about online ads. I don't run online ads. I'm not an SEO expert. What I did when I created products is I said, look, these are all things that this market really needs. I needed them. So I went to affiliate marketplaces and I started to forge relationships with other marketers and other affiliates on those marketplaces and said, listen, I have a product here that I think has value. I poured my heart and soul into making it. I think it does really good things or has value to the market. So if you'll promote it, when my list grows and I have some power, I'll promote whatever your products are, and started to establish relationships and work it that way. And slowly but surely was able to build it up using an affiliate marketing model. So that was my journey. I didn't do social media. I didn't do any of these other things. Some people focus on one or the other, but if you focus on one and sort of establish it, then you can branch out into other areas as well.
Yeah, you're so right, because so many people, yeah, you're so right at that. They tried one strategy and didn't work. They blame the guru and they say they are a failure and they jump on to the next one, right? If only they keep trying. How is it possible that you didn't use any social media at all and you build a successful online-based business?
Well, I know it's kind of funny and weird,
Yeah.
hard to even admit. When social media first started, it was a little bit confusing as to how it would relate exactly to business. There weren't online ads; they were just social connection platforms. And so the idea at that time is, I was worried that if I had set up accounts for business, all my friends would be, friending me and finding me on, and I don't really, I didn't mix that in the same way, because my friends from my social network are not entrepreneurs. They're not people back then that I, dealt with in that particular way. And so I was sort of confused about how I could even use it for business. And so I sort of avoided it, actually. It wasn't even that I didn't consciously build it. I actually didn't even set up profiles. Then eventually I did. And they sat there for 2 or 3 years with 3 followers and 0 posts. And then ads came about and influencers and all this other stuff. And it became very obvious that you could do real good business things with it. But in addition to that, it became more sophisticated in terms of a marketing model, because it got beyond the fact that your personal and professional stuff was all mixed. You could have professional and business pages, which initially you couldn't do that kind of stuff. And so for me, I didn't focus on any of that. And I think the important thing about that is it shows that you don't need to do it that way. If you want to do it that way, you can. And in some ways, it's probably a lot easier. But for me, I use solely affiliates. It's really the only way that I promoted. It's the way that I did 100,000 in sales in a single day, 100% by affiliates, $0 on advertising, zero SEO, zero anything else.
Mm.
And I built relationships with other affiliates. They all emailed their lists. I emailed my list. We promoted a product during a launch phase, and I was able to build it up that way. And so now I'm trying to make up for lost time. And now that I have that established, I am building my social profiles and things like that. But they're all very small right now because I'm just getting started with that.
I love, love, love that. So, I want to ask another question. Going back to the strategy. So, there are so many strategies, we talked about earlier, like email marketing, affiliate marketing, even podcasting now is become one strategy, and social media, TikTok, Facebook ads, so many strategies. And again, people are overwhelmed with strategy. So how do they go about? So, okay, first they have to choose a passion. They have to choose one niche or one thing they are passionate about. And then now, how do they go about choosing the right strategy for them?
Yeah, so I think for a strategy, there's a couple of things. Number one, it's what resonates with you. There isn't a right or wrong way. There are people that build, whether it's a podcast, right? People build it through ads, people build it through social media, people build it through live speaking events. So, whatever sort of resonates with you, for me, I like the affiliate marketing model because I found like if I invested in building relationships with people, then those were things that were long term. It takes a little bit of effort up front, but I knew that it would work long term. I was worried with things like ads and other stuff and SEO, that it was going to be this moving target. SEO at the time was a lot of black hat stuff where people were doing keyword stuffing and crazy backlink stuff. And I thought to myself, if I do this, I don't want to wake up one day and have my site delisted from Google because I did something wrong or whatever. So I felt like I wanted to go with the thing that was dependable, that if I put in the effort, I knew I'd get the result. I wasn't a huge social connector, so I didn't focus on the social media stuff. But I think that so what resonates with you is super important, because if you enjoy that promotion method, you'll be better at it naturally. You'll find the cracks. You'll figure out how to make it work for you. I think another thing is sort of figuring out where your market hides, and where they hang out. If you are dealing with a youth market, you probably want to be on TikTok because it's a much more young platform. If you have an older market for the things that are going to be buying things, then you probably want to be more on Facebook. So, research the various types of promotions and figure out where your market hangs out the most. And that's an area to start. And then just in terms of an overall strategy, just sort of grassroots up, just try to make really good content, whatever it is, and give it time to grow organically. The more stuff that you make, the more sort of like arms that you get out in the universe, the more ability you have to be able to reach people and bring them into sort of the fold. And if you give them something of value, they'll be quick to talk about you. And that's, the best way to grow things to begin with anyway.
Yeah, so true. So where are you at right now in your business? You obviously have built a successful business. You have everything. I believe you have a team. You have everything automated. So what are you? Where are you in your business right now? And what are you working on right now? What is next for you?
So yeah, the software thing for me is sort of it's sort of on autopilot in the sense that I have people that do most of that stuff for me at this point. My newest passion project is actually my podcast, because it's something I just started less than a year ago. And for the most part, what I did was I wanted to reach out and I wanted to give back, and I wanted to be able to share with other people that either are entrepreneurs and are trying to grow a business. Maybe they're struggling, or maybe they're thinking about being an entrepreneur. They want to get started. They're not sure where to turn. And I want to be able to give them sort of tips, guidance, lessons that I wish I learned when I was trying to grow, because I made a lot of mistakes. And I made a lot of mistakes that had I had a mentor, had I had someone that understood the business, they could have helped me avoid. I could have got to success a lot faster. But also just knowing that someone is there in your corner and that you're not alone. Because on those nights where you're sitting there at your computer and you got your head in your hands and you're frustrated because it isn't going well, it's nice to know there's someone else there that you could talk to, that understands, that's been there, and that can tell you, look, it gets better. Keep going. Don't give up no matter what you do. The most important thing is that you stick to your dream and keep going, because perseverance is 95% of the battle. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. And why didn't you hire a mentor? I mean, back then.
I didn't know what I didn't know. I was really busy. I was sort of overwhelmed with stuff, and I didn't have I didn't have a lot of a budget either, but it didn't even occur to me that at the time the smart thing would have been to find someone very successful at what I was trying to do and say, teach me, you know what I mean? Whatever you need, here's the check. Teach me, get me to where I want to be really fast. I'll do the work, but I need to know what I need to know. And when I study other people that have been successful, I'm a huge believer in studying people that are doing things that we want to do and doing it at a high level, because I think that everybody leaves breadcrumbs in their wake, and sort of if we go and we pick those up, we can follow the trail and figure out where we want to get. Everything's so public now that it's very easy to follow other people's success and other people's paths and be able to do our own in a way that's a lot faster and easier than trying to learn everything from trial and error. And so I wish I had known that whole idea, but first of all, not as many existed, at least not as publicly. And second of all, I don't know if I would have even recognized I needed it. It wasn't until after the fact that I said, geez, I wouldn't have made a lot of those mistakes if I had somebody telling me No, don't do it that way. Do it this way instead.
So what is the one most important lesson that you have learned about business and entrepreneurship that you wish someone had told you before or when you first started?
Yeah, I think there's three. One I alluded to already, and that is start with something you're passionate about. If you chase money because you think there's an opportunity there, everybody will be in that market soon, and there will be people that are passionate about it and love it. So even if you could make a buck today, you will struggle long term. Do something you're really passionate about at the core. I think the second thing is take action, right? Because nothing gets going until we get going. And once we do, we learn a lot more on the fly than we do from sitting there and trying to learn from a book or from a guide. You know, when you learn to ride a bike as a kid, you don't learn because your parents tell you, now sit on the seat, stable yourself, and then start to pedal. You learn because when you start to ride and you fall over and skin your knee, I don't want to do that again. So you get on the bike and next time you steer the other way. And so we learn a lot more just by doing. And I think the third thing, and I think this is equally as important as the first two, is be adaptable. Understand that no matter what your plan is or what you think in terms of your conception about how fast the success is going to happen or how direct of a path you're going to have to it, understand that the most important thing is to do stuff, pay attention to the results that you get, and adapt. Adapt to your industry, adapt to your market, adapt to technology. You know, AI came out a year ago. Before a year ago, no one was using AI for anything. It's already dramatically changed the way everybody does everything.
Yeah.
And it's you have to be adaptable in order to be able to do that. But if you do those three things and you just keep going, you could be successful at whatever it is that you set your heart to.
I believe the most important message here is keep going, right? Because
Yes.
failure is when you quit, right? It's when you quit. Yeah. If you keep going, I believe you will get to your success, right? It's just a matter of time. So thank you so much for coming today. Now tell my listeners where they can find you online, and since you are trying to build out your social media now, where they can listen to your podcast and what is your podcast all about and why is it called Up You Mice? I'm just like curious.
Okay, so where you can find me is optimize.com. OPTYOUMIZE.com is my website. I also have a Facebook page, Optimize. I have a YouTube channel, the Optimize podcast with Brett Ingram. And basically, the reason that I chose that name for the podcast is because I believe that as entrepreneurs, if we want to build a large business, it starts with building ourselves. You know, we are the center of whatever business we're trying to build. And so we are limited or unlimited based on our own ability to grow, our own ability to adapt, and our own ability to want to continue to develop and learn. And so I think that, you know, I focus on trying to learn something new and grow every single day in what I'm doing. I think it just makes life more fulfilling. And it also just like broadens our horizons and makes us, you know, better entrepreneurs and better people. And that's the reason that, you know, Optimize, because business is not just about business, it's about business and about life. And I think it's super important that those two things are connected and that we become great entrepreneurs and build a dream business, but that we also build our dream life. So we aren't just focused on business either. You know, that's sort of the whole package.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm sure my listeners will love to listen to your podcast. Your demise, up you mice. So guys, you can just easily go to the show note and I'll put all his link in the show note, including his Facebook link, Instagram and website and podcast. So just click on the link, follow him and thank him for coming to our show today and let us know what is your biggest takeaway. If you have any question, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave a comment below and we'll get back to you. Thank you so much again for listening and watching, and until next time, keep showing up. Success doesn't show up for you until you show up and pursue your own success. Hi there, thanks for listening today, and I would love to meet you at our virtual dinner party. Once or twice a month, we come together as a community in a safe and empowering environment to help and support one another in our entrepreneurship journey. So what is a virtual dinner party? A VDP is not a networking event, it's not a teach event, and it's not a webinar where you don't get to talk. I want you to imagine the VDP being a cross between a mastermind, speed dating, and a Tony Robbins event. And most importantly, there is nothing for sale. My goal for you in attending our VDP is to help you build real confidence, gain more visibility for yourself, and build a deeper connection within our community. What is the catch? There isn't one. If you're a coach, consultant, entrepreneur, or podcaster, come and join us for a truly unique and world-class experience. And there is a choice of dates and times for you to attend. To RSVP, just send me a DM on Facebook with the word VDP now.